We all know about planned obsolescence, right? That feeling when your phone, just a couple of years old, starts to slow down. The battery drains faster, and suddenly, the new model looks incredibly appealing. It's designed that way, to an extent, to encourage you to upgrade. For a long time, I thought this phenomenon was pretty much confined to our gadgets, our material possessions. But then, something started to niggle at me. I was looking at the job market, at how fast things were changing, not just in tech, but across almost every industry. And I started seeing the same underlying pattern, the same mechanism, playing out not with our devices, but with our careers. It wasn't a sudden lightning bolt, more like a slow realization, piecing together observations. People talked about being phased out, about their skills becoming outdated. The common narrative is that the market is ruthless, that technology is this unstoppable disruptive force, or that companies are just looking to replace older, more expensive employees. And sure, there's an element of market dynamics at play. Companies do chase efficiency. Innovation does disrupt. That's a given. The market doesn't maliciously fire you in this context. It simply outpaces you if you stand still. But as I delved deeper, I realized this external view was only half the story, maybe even less. The really unsettling part, the idea that truly took hold and wouldn't let go, was how much of this career obsolescence isn't something that's done to us, but is something we actively, if often, unconsciously, contribute to. And that led me to this core idea, this rather stark realization. You finance your own professional obsolescence. Think about that phrase for a moment. You are, in a very real sense, investing in your own decline, funding your own irrelevance. It sounds harsh, I know. But let me explain how I got there. It's not about blame. It's about understanding a dynamic that, once seen, can be changed. It started when I considered the concept of inaction. We tend to think of inaction as neutral, as simply not doing something. But in a rapidly changing environment, inaction is anything but neutral. Every day, you don't update a skill. Every week, you don't explore a new trend relevant to your field. Every month, you don't consciously unlearn an outdated process. It's not a zero-sum game. You're not just standing still while the world moves forward. You are, in effect, making a small, daily deposit into an account that accrues what I started calling the compound interest of irrelevance. Now, compound interest is a powerful force when it works for you in finance. But when it works against you, in terms of your skills and relevance, it's equally potent, just in a destructive way. Those tiny neglects, those decisions to stick with the comfortable and familiar, rather than stretch into the new and uncertain, they compound. Day after day, week after week. It doesn't seem like much at first, but over time, that gap between your current skill set and what the market actually values widens almost imperceptibly at first, then with alarming speed. You're not just being left behind. You are actively, though unintentionally, contributing to the widening of that gap. How can you apply this understanding in life? Well, think about any area where you want to see improvement, not just your career. Maybe it's fitness, or learning a language, or a personal relationship. Small, consistent positive actions compound for growth. Conversely, small, consistent neglects compound for decline. Recognizing that inaction has a cost, a daily accruing cost, is the first step. For your career, this might mean dedicating just 15 to 30 minutes a day to reading an industry journal, taking a micro course, or experimenting with a new tool. It's about reversing that flow of investment, from obsolescence to relevance. And why do we do this? Why do we finance our own obsolescence? A huge part of it, I believe, comes down to ego and comfort. We've achieved a certain level of competence, maybe even mastery, in what we do. We're the expert in our niche. The thought of becoming a beginner again, of looking foolish, of fumbling with new concepts, of admitting we don't know something, is deeply Our ego, which thrives on that feeling of competence, resists this. That comfort in our expert status becomes a gilded cage. This is where the concept of it means dismantling mental models, habits, and assumptions that were once useful but are now liabilities. It means acknowledging that the map you've been using no longer accurately represents the territory. Your ego will fight this process of demolition because it feels like an attack on your past achievements, on your very identity as a professional. So, how do you tackle this in a practical sense? One way is to consciously reframe the experience of learning something new. Instead of seeing it as a threat to your current expertise, view it as an expansion, an addition. Embrace the vulnerability of being a novice in a new area. Remind yourself that every expert was once a beginner. Actively seek out situations where you don't know everything. This could be as simple as asking dumb questions in a meeting about a new technology, or volunteering for a project that stretches your current abilities. This humility is an investment in your future self. The speed of technological and economic change today means this financing of obsolescence happens faster than ever before. What was a cutting-edge skill 5 years ago might be a basic requirement today, or even completely obsolete. That feeling of security you might have in your current role based on skills you learned a decade or more ago. It might be an illusion, a sense of stability built on a foundation that's quietly eroding beneath your feet. This is why the idea of operating in permanent beta is so vital. It's not about making massive disruptive changes to your skill set every few months. That's overwhelming and unsustainable. It's about cultivating a mindset of continuous, incremental learning and adaptation. It's the small, consistent efforts. Reading industry articles, listening to podcasts from thought leaders in your field, taking a short online course on a new software, experimenting with a new methodology, networking with people who are working on the cutting edge. It's a fundamental shift from thinking I have arrived or I am a finished product to I am always evolving, always learning, always adapting. Consider how this applies outside of work. If you only ever read books by authors you already know you like, or only listen to music from your favorite genre, your personal world can become an echo chamber. Stepping out and trying a new author, a different genre, or a new type of cuisine isn't just about novelty. It's about expanding your palate, your understanding, and keeping your mind flexible. The same principle fuels professional longevity, and it's crucial to distinguish between different types of skills here. Specific technical skills, like proficiency in a particular software or coding language, can have a very short shelf life. They are like the apps on your phone. They get updated or replaced frequently. But then there are meta skills, or what some call durable skills. Learning how to learn, critical thinking, complex creativity, emotional intelligence, adaptability, communication. These are like the phone's operating system or even its core hardware. They provide the underlying framework that allows you to acquire and utilize new technical skills more effectively and efficiently. Investing in these meta skills offers a much better long-term return. So, when we talk about your career having an expiration date, it's not some external, malevolent force stamping it on you without your consent. It's a date that is actively influenced, pushed further away, or pulled alarmingly closer by your own daily choices, your own actions, or crucially, your inactions. The market will always evolve. Technology will always advance. Those are constants. The real question, the one you need to ask yourself, is this: are you passively allowing your professional value to depreciate by financing your own obsolescence? Or are you actively, consciously, and consistently investing in your continued growth and relevance? The power to stop funding your decline and start architecting your future value is, and always has been, entirely yours. So, how do we actually start investing in our relevance instead of our obsolescence in small, manageable ways every single day? It's less about grand gestures and more about subtle shifts in our daily routines. Think about your commute, if you have one. Instead of just music or talk radio, what if you listened to an industry-specific podcast for 15 minutes, or an audiobook chapter on a new skill? When you're browsing online, dedicate a small window, say 10 minutes during your coffee break, to actively seek out one new article or blog post related to emerging trends in your field. Consider your social media feeds. Could you follow a few more thought leaders or innovative companies in your industry so that learning becomes part of your passive scrolling? Even in conversations, try to ask more why and what if questions related to how things are done or how they could be done differently with new tools or approaches. This primes your mind for new perspectives. These aren't massive time commitments. They are tiny, almost unnoticeable tweaks. But the benefit, it's that consistent, small deposit into your relevance account. It keeps your mind agile and open. It builds a habit of curiosity. It makes learning less of a chore and more of an integrated part of your day. Over time, these small actions compound, making you more adaptable, more informed, and ultimately, more valuable. You start to see connections you wouldn't have noticed before. You become the person who has a slightly different take, a fresh idea, because you're constantly, gently, feeding your mind with new inputs. This isn't about becoming an expert in everything overnight. It's about fostering that permanent beta mindset through consistent, small actions. It's about making learning a lifestyle, not an event. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. I truly believe that understanding this dynamic can be a gift. Before you go, I invite you to check out the description below. There might be something there that could help you further on this journey.